What is good, Tsla family? It's Ray J back with another video. And in this one, I want to break down what's happening with SPY, Tesla, Nvda, the QQQ, and a couple of other tickers. I'm going to talk about the presidential election that's going on right now, not to mention other factors involving Tesla as the market's pushing right now in the after hours. But just know that I am not a financial planner. Make sure you take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out my Moomoo link. If you deposit $100, you're guaranteed 5 free stocks. If you deposit $1,000, you're guaranteed 15 in total, not to mention 8.1% APY on uninvested cash. The offering is very soon in just a couple of weeks. Anyways, now let's talk about Tesla and the markets. Tesla's doing a good job at holding up so far, so is the broader markets, as there's a lot of buyers stepping in approaching this election cycle. But just know this, okay? There could be some complications depending on who ends up winning. But despite that, for now, the market still remains more bullish. But there are some things I have to go over first about why that is and what's happening with this election cycle before I break down more details. So first, let's talk about the data, and I'll talk about the charts later on. Just know this, today the market saw a nice rebound. We saw tech lead the way up with Nvda, Apple, Google, Microsoft, big tech basically pushing. We also saw finance once again keep up alongside Berkshire Hathaway and many others, not to mention consumer durables. So I'm making it very clear that right now there's a lot of buyers who are defending the markets, and this could be because of a squeeze that is pending, because we saw a lot of shorts piling in over the last couple of days, only to see a lot more buyers ultimately come back. I also want to call out the fact that the market was dumping very, very hard over the last couple of days until today when the market made a nice U-turn. So there are a lot more buyers coming in. There's less fear than before, and there is a little bit more confidence, which is what the market was waiting for. For today, we had the ISM services data, which was very mixed. Despite that, it didn't really affect the market as much. The market was just continuing to push because of the election. The presidential election results will be coming out later on tonight, most likely. If not, a little bit after that. Hopefully, the data comes out by tonight. We find out who is going to be the next president. Now, the reaction to all of this should be coming out tomorrow. So tomorrow is going to be Wednesday, November 6th. Expect the market to most likely gap up, and we're going to be looking to see if we continue to push even harder. There's not really much data coming out for tomorrow, but we're just waiting for the election. So as you guys know, we have two candidates who are once again getting a lot of votes right now. There's Trump and then Harris. If Harris were to win, just hypothetically, okay, we'll see what this leads to for Tesla. It could be a little bit more complicated because of the fact that Elon Musk is favoring one candidate. But one thing that's happening is that the market is trying to see a more positive view, and the market is looking at what could be an everything squeeze right now, where the whole market is just pumping regardless of who wins. That is a strong possibility. If Harris were to win, some sectors might not be as strong, such as like Bitcoin, maybe some consumer durables. But for the most part, the market could still push nicely. There will be some individual stocks impacted a lot more by this because of policy. If you look at like Google and many others that are involved in antitrust laws. Then there's Trump. Now, if Trump ends up winning, okay, I think the market will once again not only pump, but there's going to be other specific areas we're going to be looking for a lot of green, such as Bitcoin, such as Tesla, and then the list goes on. Also, energy is going to be looking for a bigger push if he were to win because of the fact that he's going to be renegotiating different policies. So I just want to call that out. So just keep an eye on those different stocks and those sectors. Energy is going to be very, very big for Trump, not to mention Bitcoin, Tesla, and many others. And then the overall market could still push regardless of who wins. That's what it's looking like so far. We will see, just to be safe, because I can't guarantee anything. The election's going on right now, guys. I mean, like, it's too close for me to call anything. The votes are just getting counted right now. I would say that a lot of Republicans tend to vote in person, so that's why we're seeing a lot more right-leaning votes that are getting counted first, but then the mail-in ballots are going to take a little bit longer to count. That's why we're waiting for those. So it's still anyone's game. Anyone could win at this point. We're just going to have to wait and see and be very, very patient nonetheless. I also want to say this, for those who support one candidate or the other, whoever you support, it's okay. Whether you like Trump, whether you like Harris, it's up to you. Guys, I support the right for you guys to have an opinion. I support you guys' freedom of speech, and you guys could just say whatever you want. I actually support that. As long as there's no like profanity and stuff like that, I just want there to be peace, and I support you guys' freedoms, at least in that regard. Okay. So anyways, when it comes to the market, the fear is subsiding a little bit. This was a lot more fearful yesterday. Now it's kind of getting closer to neutral. As we saw some buyers defend, and they're continuing to push the market higher. Could they have dumped the market because they were getting ready for a big pump because of the election? Or is the opposite about to happen? We're just gonna have to wait and see. Momentum is now neutral as the market has attempted to rebound for today, which is a good sign. The put to call option ratio is going up. So we're seeing a big surge in put buying. So people are shorting the market approaching the election. There's a lot of fear. People think the market's going to crash, this and that. And as a result, the market is squeezing. It's squeezing those shorts. So far, that's what's happening, in my personal opinion. Also, we have others out there, such as the VIX, starting to dip a little bit more. There are some key supports. So will the VIX dump more as the market pumps, or will we see the opposite? We're just waiting to see. So for this, just know this, guys. Today, when it comes to earnings, we had Palantir announcing their earnings. They did relatively. I'm sorry, not today. This was yesterday. They actually did really well. That's why the share price is still pushing right now. And then Supermicro also announced their earnings. They did not do too well. That's why the share price is dumping. For tomorrow, we have Celsius, CVS, and a few more in the morning. And then we have ARM or ARM, and then AMC after market close. So just keep that in mind. For Supermicro, Supermicro, real quick. Let me just say this. Unfortunately, their earnings were not that great because even though they beat on EPS with 75 to 76 cents adjusted, revenue is only at about $5.9 billion to about $6 billion. That is below expectations of $6.44 billion. On top of this, when it comes to their guidance, we're looking at their quarterly guidance at about $5.5 to $6.1 billion in sales, which is below what these analysts were expecting at $6.8 billion. So weak guidance, not the best earnings. That's why the share price is dumping. Unfortunately for Supermicro, that is some short-term downside. Now for Tesla, there was some news that came out. Tesla's basically raising the wages for its employees basically in Berlin. That is once again very important. They're raising them by about 4% since the start of November. Musk also made some comments about the robotaxi, saying that it's more lucrative and there's no point for them to basically be giving a $25,000 EV that's driven by humans. That's Musk's view. I gave you guys my opinion about that in the morning. I personally think that for the short term, it depends on when they launch the robotaxi. If they could launch that sooner than expected within a couple of years, then yes, it is going to be a lot more lucrative for them. If it takes longer, then I would say that, in my personal opinion, it would have been more profitable to get a cheaper EV for the short term. And then for the long term, profitable if they had a more cheap EV that could be driven by humans, right? I'm referring to that, human-driven EVs for the short term. And then for the long term, it's more profitable to have, the robotaxi. We went over the numbers in my earlier video. That's what my view basically was, but that's all I just want to talk about. Anyways, Tesla's volume was only at about 68 million, but now volume is likely going to start going up as we're seeing buyers stepping in. Short volume is decreasing, so that's a good sign. And then on top of this, Piper Sandler gave Tesla an overweight rating. Barclays gave Tesla an equal weight rating. Besides that, price-price ratio is kind of flat right now. Also, in terms of seasonality, we do have a tendency being green about 48% of the time on Wednesdays. We tend to see more volatility at 1 p.m., not to mention later times. November is historically a strong month for Tesla, but we had a very strong October followed by a weak November to start things off, but we'll see how things end up going. With that being said, guys, what do I think about Tesla and the markets? Here's my opinion now. Let's just focus on technical analysis and nothing else from here on out. So it's anyone's grab, guys. Anyone could win the election, so we're just waiting to see what the reaction will be. If we were to get a Trump victory, okay, this is going to be pumping easily to 265 plus. Okay, and we could even try to hit these highs again. If we don't get a Trump victory, it could be a little bit more complicated. Tesla might not run as much, but it could still remain in the green because of the fact that we're getting what's known as an everything squeeze, most likely. But if we were to hypothetically end up losing 244, we turn bearish. As long as we're above 250, we do favor upside. Keep those levels in mind. Right now, the share price is favoring the upside. It is looking more bullish. It looks like Tesla wants to go to the 260s. I think that regardless of who wins, we could be pushing higher, but there will be a bigger pump if Trump were to win because that's who Elon Musk has been endorsing and because of other regulations. So keep that in mind. For other factors out there, we have SPY. SPY is trying to push right now, trying to fill this gap up exactly as we predicted earlier. If Harris or Trump win, we should be pushing higher. I still think we're going to be going for the 580s very, very soon, so it does look more bullish. I will turn more bearish if we lose 575.96. We have not lost, and we're not even close to that right now. We still favor upside. So we'll see if this continues tomorrow or not. But as of right now, we look a little bit more bullish on SPY, in my personal opinion. For ES, this is also looking quite bullish because of the fact that not only are we holding up quite well, but we have this gap over here that's trying to get filled around the 58.50 area. And if we fill that gap as continue to push, we're looking for 58.80 as our potential target. If we're bearish, we lose 58.17. We're looking for a dip back down towards 5800. And if that fills us, we're looking for a bigger dump back down for 57.80. In my personal opinion, I think the 4 hour is looking bullish. So is the daily on ES. I think the chart's favoring upside for tomorrow, getting closer to about 58.50 plus or even above. So I think ES is bullish. I think we're favoring upside as we approach the results of the election. That looks very, very probable regardless of who wins. But just to be safe, watch the levels I called out. We'll see if these levels last. As of right now, we do look more bullish at the time I'm recording this. For Nvidia, we're trying to push to about 140. It's going to be a little bit more complicated. Don't forget, there's going to be a shift in tariff propositions depending on who ends up winning. So it could be having an effect on Nvidia. We'll see if we try to break through this 140 area. It's going to be a tough resistance. If we do break this, we're looking for an attempt to get back up to about 142. If we end up losing 138, look for 135 as our target. But as of right now, we look more bullish. For Bitcoin, we're looking bullish. We're looking for a potential target of about 72,000. If we see a Trump victory, it's going to continue to soar 72,000, maybe all the way up to 75,000. There's going to be a big run in Bitcoin. If Harris wins, it might not run as much. It might try to push a bit only to slow back down. So we'll see about that. It's still going to run, but maybe not as hard if Harris were to win. It's because of the regulations of the policies like that. But just know this, for the more longer term, after like 2-3 years of Harris, it's still going to run like crazy, guys. Bitcoin's still going to squeeze to the hundreds of thousands. Even under Trump, it's going to squeeze as well. So regardless of who wins, it's going to run. I'm just talking about the short-term reaction. Could be a bit more nuanced because of their policies. For NQ, this is looking a little bit more bullish. If we break past resistance, we're looking for 20,500 as our target to fill this gap. If we continue to hold above 20,300, that's our target. We could even break above that. If we're bearish, you want to see it lose 20,300 to start tipping for 20,200, then eventually 20,072. Overall, it looks bullish. It looks like it wants to fill the gap for 20,500. So we are looking more bullish in my personal opinion. For the QQQ, if we lose 490, we turn back down for this bar right here, take us down to 488. If we break this resistance, we're looking for this gap fill for 496. Will we pump to fill the gap, or will we see a rug pull? We're just waiting to see. So just be very, very patient with that, guys. We will see how things end up developing, at least from here. Sorry, going back to the QQQ, we do look more bullish, so we'll have to give this a little bit more time to develop. Another thing about the QQQ is it's going to be greatly dictated by tech, so it may run more or less depending on who ends up winning, but so far we're doing a very, very good job, and we still favor the upwards direction. So just keep that in mind, guys. The market is still doing a pretty darn good job. For others out there, just know this. We also have Aapl. Aapl is once again holding up nicely. If we're bearish on Aapl, you want to see it lose 222 and 220. As long as we're above 222.5, I think that this chart is favoring upside for this gap fill towards 225.84. So I'm favoring the 225s on Aapl. We look more bullish. Just keep that in mind. That is what the chart is suggesting, in my opinion. For others out there, we do have this head and shoulders like structure developing on Neo. We'll see if this gets a rug pull or not. We do have this gap to fill down here, so we'll see if it ends up dipping. So watch that very carefully. As of right now, it might try to pop and then dip. If the head and shoulders plays on, we lose $5. Netflix, if we end up losing 760, we're looking for a target of about 750, then 743. And if we're bullish, we're looking for an attempt to get back up towards 770. I think the chart is favoring 772 as the most likely case, so we'll see if that ends up being the case, but we remain more bullish. For CELH or Celsius, we look a little bit more bullish. We have earnings coming out tomorrow, so we'll see how it goes. As long as we don't lose 31, I think this is favoring 32.5 as a target, and eventually the 33.75 area. So we look more bullish on Celsius. We're favoring upside, so give this the time it needs. On Palantir, the daily is looking more bullish as we're trying to push up higher right now. I also want to mention the fact that we got a good report that came out. So we are once again still favoring the upside. So with that being said, guys, I think that we could attempt to push higher for the 52 plus area, then eventually 55. If we lose 50, we're going to be looking for a dip back down, but this is still favoring upside. So watch to see how this ends up moving. For Supermicro, we do look more bearish after earnings came out because of the fact that earnings were not that good for them. So look at 23 support, then 21.5. That's the historical level down here, just to see if those levels hold. Look for a little bit more downside. We'll see if we get a bounce or not, but I still anticipate this is going to be dipping because of the fact that earnings were a little bit lackluster. Rivian's going to be making a big move depending on how earnings end up going. Look at 10.5 as support. If that fails us, we're looking for a dip back down to 10.4. As long as we hold this, we're looking for a push for 10.8, which is where this imbalance happens to be. The share price is favoring upside, but we'll see what happens with earnings on Thursday, so watch for that. SoFi, if we lose 11.25, we're looking for 11.09 as our main support. And if we end up basically holding above 11.5, 4. We're looking for a pushback up for 11.6. So I think we favor upside on SoFi as the most likely case. For the IWM Russell 2000, we're looking more bullish. If we lose 226, we're looking for a dip back down towards 224.25. As long as we're bullish, we're favoring basically 228 or above. I believe that this chart is doing a good job at holding up, and it's favoring that it wants to be testing 228 again. That looks more probable, but we'll see what happens with whoever wins. For AMD, we're trying to base at this 140 area, so keep that in mind. If we get a Harris or Trump victory, this looks like it's going to try to bounce back up for 144. So as long as 140 holds us. If it does not hold us, there's going to be a risk of it coming back down to 138 and eventually 135. But I don't really favor that. I think this is favoring a balance. It wants to go back up to 144. So if there is some kind of like everything squeezed, this could end up looking for a push. For ARM, this looks more bullish. We're looking for a target of basically 143. It looks like it wants to push higher as well. We'll see what happens with earnings. If we were to lose 138, we will turn back down. But so far, with the election coming up, this is looking more bullish approaching it. For Coinbase, as long as we don't lose 196 and 192, we are favoring basically not only 200, but a push for 207. Now, it could still push tomorrow, but I think that it depends on different factors. If we get a Trump victory, this is going to push even more to the 210s. If not, it could be dipping, so we'll see how it goes. For Amazon, it's a little tricky on Amazon. 200 is a tough resistance. We just retested this. Can we break past 200 and turn more bullish? Do we reject and start tipping back down for 197? We'll just have to wait and see. But there is potential in Amazon nonetheless, so just keep that in mind. I think Amazon could be pushing higher, so give it some time to develop, and we'll see how things end up going with this. So give it some time. For Meta, we look more bullish, technically speaking. We have 574 as our resistance. If that breaks, we're looking for 580 as our targets. If we end up losing 570, we're looking for a dip back down for 562. Right now, it's favoring the 575 plus area to be tested, so it does look a little bit more bullish for tomorrow. By the way, about Amazon, I forgot to call this out. We have 200, 202, and 205 as our targets. If we're bullish, we'll see what kind of reaction we get. It is at these highs, which are very tough to break, so we'll see. With Microsoft, we have 414's resistance. If that breaks, we're looking for 418. If this rejects here, we're looking for basically 408 as our main support. We do look a little bit more bullish for 414, so we'll see how things end up going. For Google, we're looking a little bit more bullish as well. If we break past 172, we're looking for 174. And if we lose 170, we're looking for a dip. So we look more bullish here. We'll see how things go from here. Harris's victory or not is going to have a big effect on this. For those who are interested in GameStop, I'm seeing a lot of talk about this. It does look more bullish here. As long as it does not lose 22.4, it's favoring a push for 23.5. There is potential in it. DJT, will it pump or dump? It depends on who wins. If we get a big pump, we could be going back up to 48. And if we dump, we're looking for a break below 28. Could go either way. We're just waiting to see what happens with the election. The VIX is dipping right now as the market is pumping. The VIX does look more bearish, which tends to be bullish for the markets. So we will see if that ends up developing like that or not. We're just going to be a little bit more patient with this nonetheless. For two more, we have the 10-year, which is dipping right now with the election. This tends to be dependent on what happens. The dollar is trying to push here. It's still kind of flat. We'll see what kind of reaction it gets tomorrow morning. That's all we're waiting for, so give it some time to develop. With that being said, guys, I just want to say I really appreciate you guys so much for listening. Hope you guys have a very, very awesome rest of your day. And just know this, Tesla's going to be making a big move depending on who ends up winning. Will we pump to the 260s? Do we get a rug pull? It will make a bigger move to the upside if we do get a Trump victory as Elon Musk is endorsing him, but then we'll see how it goes. But with that being said, that is it for my analysis part. There's one more thing I just want to do. I just want to talk about today, at least for the global stage. Just know that the election affects people all over the world, okay? So for all my global viewers, I just want to say I respect you guys. I wish for the best. And do not panic too much over what happens. We all want to just be friendly and we all want peace. There is a lot that happens on the global stage. I hope for peace. I just want people to just be willing to respect one another during times like this. For my American friends out there, for my American listeners, just know this. The election is coming up, and it's going to be very intense. It's going to be very important for our future policies and such, but it's not the end of the world, like regardless of what happens. So if you like one candidate and the other wins, do not panic, do not worry, guys, because it's not the end of the world once again. You and I have the power to improve our own lives. We have the power to become more independent. Always be optimistic and keep your head up, but don't be overly optimistic. You want to be having a mix of realism and optimism, of course. But I say to be optimistic because you have to remember that the future still has a lot of light. There's going to be a lot of light for our country, regardless of who wins. We have a lot of freedoms here and we have a lot of opportunity, and don't let that really change your view. I believe that we're going to be okay. Let's not worry too much. Let's just get through this election. Whoever wins, wins. We accept it. We remain peaceful. And once again, all of you guys out there are my fellow American citizens or my, fellow people around the world. We're all part of the human race. We're all part of this country. So let's make peace. Let's wish for the best for both sides. And let's once again get a very, very good election, fair and square. Okay. So thank you all so much for listening. I wish for the best for everyone. It's going to be a big day for our country and the whole world. So get ready. I wish the best for both candidates, and we'll see how it ends up going. Whoever you support, it's fine with me. You guys have the right to have your opinions. That's totally fine. And we'll see how things end up going. Thank you for listening. Have a great night, guys. Let's see if we get the election results by tonight. Hopefully they're all out by tonight, excuse me. And let's just wish for the best. All right. Thank you for listening. Have a good night and peace out.